Liaison Committee, and I'm just so pleased to see our students here. It's my honor this evening to introduce tonight's speaker, Xi Van Fleet, a survivor of Mao's Cultural Revolution in China, and a reluctant yet passionate advocate for liberty, education, and the preservation of American ideals. Xi Van Fleet emigrated to the United States after living through one of the most tumultuous and oppressive periods in modern history, experiencing firsthand hard labor in the countryside during the course of her schooling. Her childhood experiences under Chinese communist rule have given her a unique and deeply personal perspective on the dangers of authoritarianism and ideological conformity. And she has a lot to say about what we're experiencing today in the United States. She first came to national attention in 2021 when she delivered a powerful speech before a Virginia school board warning against the rise of ideologies she believed echoed the tactics of the Chinese government. Since then, she has become a sought-after speaker, author, and voice for those concerned about the direction of education, free speech, and cultural shifts in the United States, which threaten to undermine the America she now calls home. And I'm actually also proud to call her my friend. She's amazing. Xi is also the author of the acclaimed book, Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning, in which she draws direct parallels between her experiences in communist China and contemporary movements in the West. Her message is a deeply human call to recognize the value of freedom, to learn from history, and to stand firm in defense of truth. She is a modern-day Paul Revere, so we're so glad you're here to listen to her. And please share with anyone you know the live stream, and we have books up here, and I will vouch for that book as a page-turner. I carried it around for 6 weeks and didn't open it, and I was kicking myself that I didn't start it sooner. Please join me in welcoming Xi Van Fleet this evening.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for this unbelievable opportunity to speak at Jefferson's University. He means so much for me, and I'm sure for every one of you. And I just want President Jefferson to know I'm here to defend the founding principles. I'm here to defend the West, because we have to defeat communism if we want to keep our republic. So I hope I can do the job tonight to let you know. As you said that Paul Revere, and my message is not the British are coming. My message is communists are here, everywhere in our great country. So, well, 2 years ago, there was a communist coming to UVA campus selling his book against capitalism. Do you remember it? Remember that? Senator Bernie Sanders. He sold tickets for his speech, $95 each. Tickets were sold out. So he's a good capitalist, even though he was attacking capitalism. And here today, it's free event. And someone come here to talk about what it is like to live under communism, and it's free. And we don't have as many people. That is a problem. That is the exact problem we're facing today. And the very fact that I have to come here, talk about communism, is a problem. So let's get started. So in 1986, I came to America. By then, I have spent 26 years of my life under communism. When I came here, I thought, Finally, I escaped communism. I left it behind me. I come to United States, a place where freedom is. And I have no idea that one day I was come and become like a speaker about communism. This is so sad. This is just unbelievably sad. Okay, so my journey started in America, and when I came here, just like many, many immigrants, I'm sure still many come here with the same idea. You know, this is a great place. They left what's behind, and then they just focus on achieving the American dream. That's exactly what I did. And I just focused on getting my degree, getting married, buying a house, building a family. I paid no attention to politics. And I always voted in the presidential election. I think it's important, but I never spent time studying the issues. I said, here's America. Okay, what's the difference? The two parties, they all want the best for our country. You know, they're just talking about differences in policies. And so I kind of like in autopilot, I just went and I vote without understanding issues. And but meantime, I did start to notice little things here and there that remind me of China. But I have to say that all those things I noticed bothered me, but I never lose sleep over them until 2020. I'm sure this probably applied to many of you. And in 2020, all of a sudden, communism is right here. We have this lockdown because of COVID, modeled after communist China. I thought in America, no one would comply. Oh yes, I was so wrong, so wrong. So many people complied. Not only complied, they reported on their coworkers, their neighbors, and their friends, just like the Cultural Revolution. I was like, this is not good. And then Floyd, and then BMM, then burning down of our country. I said, this is a really Cultural Revolution replay, the one that I experienced when I was a schoolgirl. So I was like one of those typical Asian or Chinese immigrant. We're quiet, we're shy. Yeah, I never spoke publicly, never thought I would one day do that. And so most time apolitical. But 2020 changed everything. So I said, I cannot sit aside and just be an observer. I have to do something. I don't know what to do, but I just have to do something. So I joined the Loudoun County Republican Committee, and later Loudoun County Republic Women's Club. First time, more than 30-some years in America, I got involved. But I still did not know what to do. At that time, I thought I would just get involved with election, and I want to volunteer, and so I become precinct captain. But I still think it's not enough. I want to do more. And then one day, I got an email from the Republican Women's Club urging us to go to school board. So I said, okay, I do that. So never spoke publicly, and so I signed up. My time is up. I was like, okay. I was so scared. Fortunately, back then, we were required to have the mask, and you can see my my video. And I thought that was helpful, yeah, yeah, to hide myself. So I went there, and we only have 1 minute, and I just really said it very, very fast, and I spared like I don't know 3 or 4 minutes. So I did my job. And so I went home. Actually, I left the meeting because I was working, and I still have to go back and make up my time. I had no idea it went viral. Actually, the following day, I listened to Charlie Kirk all the time. I heard myself playing on his podcast, and then more, and then Fox News called. I just had no idea, and actually, I said, what? What's the big deal? Everybody knew Cultural Revolution in China. Everybody knew what I'm talking about. Nope. I found out quickly. Very few people know. And mostly the people that applaud me in that packed Loudoun County School Board meeting, probably the first time heard it. I had no idea. This is the sad situation. And so that was a turning point for me. So I decided this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to devote the rest of my life educating Americans of communism, of Chinese communism, of Maoism, and of Mao's Cultural Revolution, because it's here. And I was thinking, in 2019, I was thinking about, start to think about retirement. Nope, nope. I will do this the rest of my life to educate Americans about communism. And because America is so precious, we have to save it. So where the problem came from, why the people don't know about the Cultural Revolution in China, I thought that was very odd. Now I know. Now you all know. Why? The problem is right here, because we lost control of our educational system. We lost control, especially of the academia. And it's not today, it's not yesterday, it's more than 100 years ago. Little by little by little, by the time we kind of woke up, it's too late. They basically have control of all our institutions. You probably heard about that expression, long march through institutions. Have you? I think most of you, if you haven't, this is important to know. Long march was, it took place in China by the Chinese communists to escape the encirclement by the nationalist government. And then they were able to survive and then rebuild and eventually took over China. And the communists or in the West love it. So there's someone in Germany and use that phrase, long march, meaning it's not overnight. It's not like a violent takeover. It's little by little, long march, take over universities, and now taking over institutions. But the first thing they did is take over academia. So the problem started here. And so now we lost everything. You know, you look at the media, look at Hollywood, look at political parties, government, military, they're all taken by the, pretty much falling into the hands of Marxists. But it all started in universities because those people were trained by the Marxists. And so here's a sad story. So many people like me come from China. We escape communism, we come here, embrace freedom, and we send our kids to college, and they came back Marxists, communists. And this happened to so many of us. It is so heartbreaking, and I have deep resentment, but that doesn't help. We just have to fight back. I have a story of a friend of mine, and he experienced the same thing as I did in China when the Cultural Revolution came here, loved this country, and has only one daughter, sent her to one of the elite university in Virginia. She went in, a conservative, came out a communist, and she told her parents, she's not going to find any jobs because she doesn't want to contribute to capitalism. So she stays home. And then she doesn't want to work for the government because government was evil. So she also brought in someone, a friend of hers needs some help, and it's a Muslim girl, and she told her father, you can't speak to her unless you are spoken to, because she doesn't want to speak to strange male. Yes. And now finally, I know. And finally, she said, okay, after 2 years living at home, doing nothing, she decided she's going to get a certificate, go teach. Now we have another communist going to school and teach our kids. And that is the sad, sad reality. Yeah. So education is the key to any totalitarian regime. And so here I do want to say that it took me a while to figure out the difference between authoritarianism and totalitarianism. China is not an authoritarian regime. It's totalitarian regime. What's the difference? Authoritarian would just demand blind conformity. You just do whatever I say. Totalitarian, they do more than that. They want you to think certain way. And that is, of course, they control your speech. So China is a totalitarian country. So they know the importance of education. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit of what they did to control their education system in order to control people's mind, including mine. So they took over China in 1949 with a lot of help of the communists here in America. And that is the topic of my next book. When you read it, you will say, oh my God, exactly. But anyway, today we're just focused on China. So among the first thing they did is take over the educational system. Do you know that China's old educational system was built on Anglo-American educational system? In the 1800s, started in the mid-1800s, a lot of missionaries went to China, and a lot of Americans. They were the ones who really helped China to have schools and universities that all come from the West, and it's all built on the Anglo or American way of education. The first thing they did is that has to be all destroyed and replaced by the Soviet model. And then all the teachers have to be re-educated. Yes, that word existed a long time ago, and it's called through something called thought reform. Everyone have to reprogram their thinking, their brain, in order to think correctly according to the party line. So they have to go through that. And it's very, very serious. It's not something you go or have a meeting. It's everyone has to require to read certain material and pass the examination, and they would sometimes just come and check your notes. Make sure you are not going through the motions. They did that from elementary to college. Everyone has to do that. And then when that's done, the next thing is textbook. Everything has to be redone. And one of the things that they paid most attention to is history. History book. So history book was rewritten, and that's the history I learned when I was in China. So they did all this. Fast forward, 1966, that is the beginning of the Cultural Revolution. By then, they have 17 years of indoctrinate children. And now, by the time that Mao started his Cultural Revolution, all the Chinese young people, they knew nothing. Nothing about their heritage, nothing about the past, nothing that help them to think critically. You are not supposed to think critically. You're not supposed to think. Yeah. So they become what? Zombies. Basically, that's what they are. They know one thing: follow the leader. And they're perfect for Mao's Cultural Revolution. And I hope by now you all know what they're called. Red Guards. They're called Red Guards. So they gave themselves this name, and then Mao met them in Tiananmen Square 8 times. You can see you can Google the photos that, and he declared that he was their Red Commander-in-Chief, and the kids were his Red Guards. So that is the beginning of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. What is the goal of the Cultural Revolution? And Mao made it very clear. China was in dire situation. There are people within the government, within the party, they're going to derail our revolution. They're going to take us back to capitalism. So those people were called capitalist rulers. So who are they? They are basically the people in position of powers, because Mao felt like his authority was threatened. He wanted to get rid of them. So he had an army to do that for him, those tens of millions of Red Guards. So in today's world, it's Antifa, okay? In today's America, the Red Guards were Antifa and the BLM and just social justice warriors. And so they were told to take down those people in authority and take down those who Mao did not like. And so when you think about authority as kids, who do they think first? Teachers, professors. So they went after teachers and professors. And I was only 7 when it started. And I witnessed elementary school kids going after teachers. And they were just too small to be lethal, but they beat up their teachers. And in high school, in university, that was lethal. Okay, so they were able to turn the kids into mobs, into killers. Why? You say, where are the police? Well, have you heard about defund police? In China, what they did is dismantle the entire law enforcement system. So they were told, if the Red Guards attack you, you're not supposed to hit back, and you are not supposed to go to campuses where the violence took place. And with the power, they absolutely just went out, just did anything. All you need is have a red army band and says Red Guard. You have power to destroy, you have power to kill. The Chinese Cultural Revolution started in a specific day, that is May 16, 1966, because Mao had an announcement published in the papers, in the party's papers, say that we start the Cultural Revolution today. Our goal is to get those people in power who want to take us back to capitalism. And then all this chaos took place. And one of the things Mao urged them to do is to destroy 4 oaths. I think by now you have heard about it. Have you? 4 oaths. Old ideas, old tradition, old custom, and old habits. Anything that's old, anything that's traditional, anything that reminds people of the past, their heritage, has to be destroyed, because that is something that we have to want to remove in order to put Maoism as the only religion in China. So what's old? Statues. Yeah. Now you remember what happened in Charlottesville. When I heard that, I said, that's Cultural Revolution. They tore down all the statues. They changed the street names. Is it happening here? Yeah. And the kids went as far as change their own names to be politically correct. And they burned books. And after they destroy everything in the public, they said, we have to go after the 4 O's in hidden places. That means people's homes. And I saw that. It's just absolutely terrifying. They went to people's homes. They get anything that they think is old, even just personal belongings such as old photos. They all took it out, burned, and smashed it, and antique, anything. They had that power. Actually, someone I know, they said that one day there was a bunch of neighborhood boys. Neighborhood, that means the kids they know. As young as, I don't know, 8, 12, they came to their house. They went door to door to door. And then they tried to get something old. They couldn't. And so what they did, they cut off his sister's hair. Why? Just because they could. Just because they could, because they had that power. When people, those are little kids. Well, some are college kids, but they're kids. No one can stop them. No one dare to stop them. Why? Because Mao backed them up. And same thing here. Why can't we just stop those violent mobs? Someone has been backing them up. So they destroyed all the 4 O's, whatever they call it. And that's not enough. So just as I said, the revolution started in May 16th. On August 5th, that's hardly 3 months, the first killing took place. It took place where? Girls' high school. And by a bunch of girls, so don't ever underestimate. The most violent ones sometimes were so seemingly the weaker ones. So bunch of girls in the most elite high school, girls' high school in China, took the principal and denounced her through the struggle session. Have you heard this term, struggle session? If you haven't, time to catch up, because this become part of the American vocabulary. Struggle session is put someone in public space, sometimes online, to denounce you, humiliate you. So they did that and beat her up, tortured her, and killed her. So that's how fast things are going. Less than 3 months, from verbal abuse to destroy properties to killing. And don't ever tell me, oh, that's only China, it can never happen here. I say all the steps happening here except the final step. So it's here. Don't ever discount that, because the things I thought never happened here is happening. Anyway, actually they were kind of scared. They did not know what to do because they killed the principal. So they reported to the so-called Cultural Revolution Committee. No response. After that, mass violence swept through China. There was no one principal in China escaped beating, not one. Many teachers were killed. After teachers were killed, what they did? Everyone else. And so in the August of that year, 1966, the Red Guards killed 1,700 people, as old as 80-something, as young as 3. No consequences, absolutely no consequences, not even today. The teacher, the principal I told you about, her husband he just died recently. The rest of his time trying to get justice for his wife, nothing. All those people died in vain. So, in the end of the Cultural Revolution, 20 million people lost their lives. That is the Chinese Cultural Revolution. And so I just want to go back and talk a little bit how we got there. How did we turn those young people, especially those girls, into killers? Well, indoctrination, of course. The first thing is rewrite history and then teach the kids fake history. So I remember when I was there and taking my indoctrination, the whole history of China, 3,000 some years, were just described as a whole thing is a class struggle. The class struggle, have you heard of that? Yeah, you heard that, right? Class struggle between what? The oppressed and the oppressors. Have you heard that? Those are the vocabulary that I grew up with. So the peasants, rose up against the oppressors, the rulers, and then it's just like it's going on and then going on, and never really successful because what? Because they did not have the leadership of communists. Until the communists came along, then their revolution succeeded. Yeah, they overthrew the oppressors. Now they are oppressed, become the master of the new China. That's what we're told. So we have a dividing line. Old China and new China. Old China is before 1949, and new China is after. Old China was evil. New China was wonderful. And absolutely, I believe it. How couldn't I believe? Because I knew nothing. Everything was controlled. The information was controlled. It told us that the poor people, the oppressed people in the United States were starving. I believe it. And so that's what we have no reference. We just don't have anything, knowledge about our real heritage. Okay, that's not enough. That's only the beginning. So you know that before was bad, now it's good. And then they have to divide us. And that is something I think you all, by now, is very familiar with. The only problem is in China, we all look alike. So what do? Class. So they divided by class. So if your family have property, and or land or whatever, it's black class. If you don't have much or have nothing, you're the red class. So it's two classes, black versus red. But after a while, there's only so many people who had property, only so many people had land. But they have to keep grow the black class because we need more enemies. So what they do is that if you think like a bourgeois, if you think as an oppressor, black class. So they keep doing that so that everyone have to watch what you say and what you associate with. And so they divided us, and then they teach hatred, absolutely hatred. So I remember growing up, we were taught we have to understand the distinction between love and hate. Love is for the party, because party created this new China for us. So we should be grateful. I never heard my parents use the word love about me, about my siblings. It's always preserved for the party, for Chairman Mao. But that's not enough. You have to hate. You have to hate your enemy. I don't know who is the enemy. Whatever party said is the enemy, we hate them. We hate them so much, we want to kill them. That's how absolutely the Red Guards acted upon it. it's just as simple as name someone enemy, and then the red guy will do the rest. And in Chinese language, we have the word people. And so people, of course, human, right? And then they have the word enemy. So as soon as you become labeled enemy, you are not people anymore. That is their way to dehumanize. That is their way to make it so easy to kill. Those kids, those young girls, I mean, the day before, the principal was there, taking care of them. And then the following day, she somehow was labeled part of this capitalist roaders. And it's always group. And by now, you should really understand what's going on here in America. It's never individual. It's not that principal did something bad. That principal said something bad. No, it's because she belonged to the group. The group, Mao called it reactionary intellectual authority. So those in power. So it's just because she belonged to that category, she has to go. Never individual. That is about communism. And here is exactly what's going on in America. Group people. Yeah, you can't escape it. You can't say, but I am not like them. No, it doesn't matter. You qualify this characteristic, you're part of them. And either you are enemy or you are friends of the revolution. So that's how they can make violence possible. You absolutely, those kids, they are not monsters. You can't say they're monsters. And some of them, many of them, now they think back, they said, I had no idea I was capable of doing that kind of thing, but they did. It's the hate. The hate is like, it's almost like abstract, but because they can dehumanize your enemy or whoever the person, then it makes the violence very, very easy. And it's here. I'm sorry, it's absolutely here. And so what happened to Charlie Kirk is just an example. He's no longer an individual, a person, a man, a husband, a father. He was an idea. The idea was that he's a hater, whatever, and then killing him is just getting easier. And here I have to say something else too. When the communists were out of power, especially the Chinese communists, they assassinated because they had no power. When they had power, not necessary. They can just drag you out and parade you to the crowds and openly execute you. So that's the next step. So you think assassination is bad until you see what happened to communists when they have power. That's total violence. So you say, okay, what happened to those Red Guards? Yeah, they absolutely destroy, they kill so many people. They destroy China, they destroy our civilization. If you go to China today, you may be showing some of the places, historical places that are all rebuilt, fake. It's destroyed. And more than that, it's destroyed here. Absolutely, it's just tragedy. So what happened to those Red Guards? They did a great job for Mao. They took down those people that Mao considered enemy. And you want to know what was the number one enemy? That was the number 2 person of the CCP, President of China. He was considered by Mao his arch enemy. They did the job for him. He was struggled against and then eventually imprisoned and died because they denied him any treatment. President of China, when he died, on his death certificate said, use a fake name and occupation, unemployed. That's something else you need to know. Who killed most communists? Communists kill more communists. Okay, now back to Red Guards. What happened to them? They thought they're going to be rewarded. I'm sure, we're going to get a seat at the table. So after they did the job for Mao, they start to fight each other, fighting for power. And that was the time when it gets really, really violent. And before, I could go and watch all sorts of, raiding people's homes and whatever, smash statues, but by then it was real violence. They raided some of the military facilities, and they got guns, real guns, tanks, started killing each other. I don't know how many died, but it's so many died that eventually Mao got tired of them. So Mao used the military and suppressed the most violent faction of the Red Guards and sent the rest to pretty much a labor camp. They send them to the countryside to do hard labor so that they can get re-educated, become better communists. That's what happened to them, and eventually that's what happened to me. Because by the time I graduated from high school, there's no jobs. The whole country was in ruins, and they did not know what to do with those kids. So I, among many other urban youths, was sent to the countryside. I worked there 3 years. And sometimes, sometimes when I talk to people and they're talking about their sufferings of their ancestors, and so I said, just shut up. You live in the best country in the world, and you talk about your suffering of, I suffered 3 years under communism. And so you should listen to me. Yeah. So that's what happened to the Red Guards. And they were there for 10 years, because by the time Mao died, the Cultural Revolution was over. It's about 10 years. So they were called the lost generation of China. And today, in some of the major hospitals, you can find special psychiatric wards for the former Red Guards. They're broken physically and mentally, now end up in institutions. That's what happened to the useful idiots. And of course, I hope anyone here is a liberal, pay attention. Pay attention to history. Pay attention to what happened before, because the same, I'm afraid, will happen to you. So I guess, okay, so the other thing I do want to say is that I want to use this opportunity to honor Charlie Kirk and his memory, because he interviewed me 3 times, and I did a lot of work with Turning Point USA, and at the last time, he invited me to be a speaker for Trump's rally in Atlanta. And I know there are people, and I said one day I would really, really like to go to one of those campus tours and just tag along, because this absolutely. And of course, that's not going to happen. But I'm just going to say this. I think we as conservatives are also to blame of his death. Why? We are too quiet. That's our problem. We have liberals who are very, very loud and noisy. And we have conservatives. It's just most of us just too quiet. Why we're afraid? We are afraid. And if we want to our freedom, you have to make a choice. You keep quiet, or you fight back. So I say, fight back. I'm not going to I just refuse to spend the rest of my life living under communism. And you don't either. I guarantee you don't. So we have to fight back by raise our voice. America is worth saving. UVA is worth saving. We have to one more thing I have to say. I work with Leadership Institute, and someone did a survey and about faculties in different universities. And so he just he actually pretend to do a survey, and he went to different faculty and just say, do you vote Republican? This is just, bipartisan survey. And of course, 99 said, or not 99, probably 95 said, okay, Democrats. And someone said, I'm the only one. I vote conservative. And then he found another one said, I'm the only one, I'm afraid, on campus. No, they're more than what you think, but they are quiet. That is our problem. So while we have to honor Charlie Kirk by raising our voice, so that his voice is not a lone voice out there, and they can't kill all of us. They just can't. So with that, thank you.
Your voice is such a needed one, and we want to thank you all. We're going to take some questions. If you have a question for Xi, okay, there's a microphone right there, and here you go.
Yes, first, thank you for your talk. But I must say, I think your views on American academia is very exaggerated. I worked at colleges for 25 years, the typical colleges, state colleges. I saw as many conservative as liberal professors. I saw more students turn conservative than what you say Marxist. I ran free speech forums, where not as good as Charlie Kirk, but I invited people from all different sides to ask questions. So I think your perspective is very limited. Second, if anything, you could say what Trump is doing has the potential of becoming more like Mao's Cultural Revolution, just like what they did here with the university president. You can't have demonstrations on college campuses anymore because of what may happen. I think that is what we have to watch out for.
Say it again about Trump.
Yes, I think if anything, Trump's, the way it seems, what he's doing with college campuses and taking away funding and threatening people is more like the Mao's Cultural Revolution.
False. Totally false. Okay.
That's what I believe.
Okay, you this is what about the debate. Okay. So first of all, here's our challenge. A lot of people have no idea what Marxism is. Have no idea. Even conservatives. I would say a lot of conservatives have no understanding of communism, of Marxism. And so as a nation, our worldview has changed so much that it's no longer biblical, because it used to be. Now, you don't even know, when you look through this lens that is increasingly Marxism. And so this is what I say. People don't know. That I know because I've seen that before. And so funding for what? For Marxism? I say yes, defunct. I would say defunct. Because a lot of the programs, the teaching from universities is where we're today, is the reason where we're today. And absolutely should hold them accountable. And Mao and Trump, that is just absolutely absurd comparison. Sorry. Yeah. And so before, I would say this, and I said to many people, Trump is the first US president who understands communism, the first. And he understands that university is the problem.
Thank you again for your talk.
Thank you.
And I've been cautioned against just reading documents about communism by communists or Maoists in order to understand it. Where else could I get information? What else could I study to understand what's going on?
Yeah, this is a common problem with scholars and academia, in academia. They would read Mao's works, primary source, right? Primary source. Mao said this and this and this, and then say that's what it is. It's not. What Mao said and what Mao did, there is like 1,000 miles in between. And so I would say history. You got to have the primary source of history rather than what the great leader had said. Because the great leader, like the great leaders here, they say beautiful things. And that's something else I would really, really want to warn people. Communists never sound nasty. Communism sounds really good. That's why they can trick so many people into it. And in China, it's when the communists took over, a majority of the Chinese supported because it sounds so good. Because we're going to have equity. We're going to have freedom. We're going to have all those things. And that's not what happened. So that's why it's so deceptive and attractive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for your speech. My name is Victor, and I'm an international student from Bucharest, Romania.
Romania.
I just first off want to say that everything you've said about communism, the whole process, the whole timeline, the same exact thing happened in Romania, almost to a T. So
Absolutely.
I think that is definite proof that this is not an isolated, phenomenon geographically or ethnically, but it is an issue fundamentally with the idea of communism as an ideology. But I just wanted to ask, to us in Eastern Europe, communism is no different than fascism and Nazism. It is equally as stigmatized. So when I have come here to the United States and to Western countries in general, I see it on campuses. I walk around at the activities fair, and Marxist students, Marxist groups try to recruit me. And I've had family that have died in the cultural revolution of Romania, that have been killed. And I know that millions of people have been killed in the name of the hammer and sickle. And there are no Nazi groups or fascist groups, and rightfully so. But I see these groups walking around and wearing symbols and displaying symbols that represent to most of us around the world the death of hundreds of millions. So my question is, do you think that these symbols should be more stigmatized in American society? And if so, how should this be achieved?
This is what I do. Absolutely perfect, really good question. So here's what happened. The West, really a lot of, including the United States, never really understand communism. But World War II was really, really one of the major reasons that this is make this even worse. Why? Because our great leader decided that we should ally with a communist totalitarian regime against another totalitarian regime. Both of them are the same. Nazi, fascism, communism are the same. Okay, and then make people really confused. Not too long ago, someone called me and said, how do we understand that we allied with Soviet Union? I said, that is one of the major problems that we're experiencing today. And after the World War II, it is the communists put Nazi on trial. And after that, the left managed to make Nazi and fascism a right-wing phenomenon. And then communism become what? Become glorified. That is why today, I'm saying this over and over again, people don't understand communism. That is why today, they think the sickle and hammer is to liberate the oppressed. This is our problem, this is our challenge, and this is why I'm so passionate about this. And I tell American people, all the three on the left, they are cousins. Do you have a question? Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Van Fleet. I was going to ask, what is the end goal of the commies here for our country? Because we got to see what the end goal is for China.
The end goal, that is this is the most important question. And to understand that is really, I think, is the key. You know, I lived through the Cultural Revolution. I was 7. When it's over, I was 17. All this chaos, all this, I just never really understood why. It was just awful. Why would he do that? And of course, later I understand why. One word, power. Actually, he said that. I just did not process it. He told the students, he told the Red Guards, the goal of the Cultural Revolution is to seize power. Well, in Cultural Revolution, that power is from Mao's political opponents. Power. How about now, today? Why are they doing here? Why are they doing the Cultural Revolution here? Power. But this time, it's different. It's not like people say, this can't be a Cultural Revolution, there's no Mao. Yeah, there's a group of Maos. It's only that most of them we don't know who they are, because those are the globalists. What they want power. The best thing to understand communism is control. They want to control everything. They want to control your mouth, your brain, your uterus, everything. It's not funny. I know, I'm telling you. The CCP had 336 million babies forcefully aborted. Yeah, they control your uterus. It's about control. And the globalists want to control. This is just too much to handle a bunch of freedom-lover Americans. No, it's too much trouble. We have to control them. And that is the end game. Control, power. If you remember these two things, everything else makes sense. To me, at least. Yes.
I'm glad you talk about power, because that's what I want to talk about. Okay? And I think it gets to what just transpired between you and this gentleman right here. The difference that I see between America and China is that during the Cultural Revolution, they had one-party control. China Communist Party was in control, and they could control everything. Here we still have a separation of powers, both vertically and horizontally. And
that's
you,
a problem to
you and this gentleman right here are Exhibit A for the antidote to exactly what you're talking about, which is the concentration of power. But my question is, given the ideas of communism and socialism and all the things you're talking about, if America ever gets to the point where we have a Caesar arise out of the milieu of American politics and wants to take absolute power, is it going to come from the right or the left?
I think history never repeats. It always rhymes, as Mark Twain said. And it will not, I think, I don't know, nobody really knows the end result. Everything will be there. The Supreme Court will be there, the Congress, and the presidency. And it look like it's just like a normal, look like we have a separation of power. But behind it, there's total control. I believe it's not like China. It's not like there is one Hitler, Mao rose up and become the symbol of power. I think I think it will be different, and it will be on the left. Left. What is left really? They are the ones that and they want to change. We talk about this, change. Whose campaign slogan is change? Change. Why they want to change? They don't like it. They don't like we have this separation of power, that we hold leaders accountable. They want to break it. And it's always those with revolutionary zeal. And that's in the DNA of the left. Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm actually an exchange student here from New Zealand.
From New Zealand?
Yeah, and I just want to say to actually everyone here that what you said actually reflects exactly what my parents told me, because my family came from exactly
Bless
the same
you, parents.
regime.
Yeah.
But I just think it's remarkable that you're able to speak up and tell America and tell the world, the story of communism. I think my background makes me more informed about Marxism and communism, but like when I look around on campus, I'm like, oh dear.
Look around.
Like, yeah, people have no clue. And my question is actually it's regarding higher education, because it doesn't matter if it's in the US or New Zealand. When I go into a college campus, it's like, dear, this is crazy. Like the kind of indoctrination that they're doing to people. Like in Harvard, one of the top universities, like a third of the students think that violence is, it's okay. And so my question is actually, what do you think should be higher education's purpose for us? Like, what do you have? What's your advice to young people who are 18, like they're going to college? Like, what should people do? Like, what is our purpose? Because I see lots of Americans, like they take out like $200,000 of debt to study gender studies.
I know.
Or
women's study and African study.
Pretty much everything that
study.
ends in studies, So so for conservatives, what do you have as an advice for people? Like, what is our goal? What are we trying to achieve in higher education?
Well, I think Charlie Kirk probably gave the best answer. But also, I think I think it's great to go to college, and it's great to study in university like this, but not anymore, because they no longer teach the traditional, the West, the best that West has produced, and they make it the indoctrination camp. And the people who borrow all that money and get into debt and go out and can't find a job, aren't they angry? Yes, perfect revolutionaries, perfect revolutionary materials. Get them all involved and then demonstrate and then burn down the system. Yeah, that is the challenge. In China, the same way. Now they have everyone should go to college. They have college left and right, and people get into debt, and they have no jobs. So it's the same thing. It's really a trap. I think, of course, engineering and then there are certain things that you have to learn through college and university. Gender study, and there's a study about angry white man. Yeah, go borrow $100,000 and study that and come out angry and jobless. And that's exactly what they want.
Thank you for your excellent and very needed talk. And I also like to thank the Jefferson Council and Center for Politics for inviting you here. 2 questions. TikTok has been in the news. What are your views on TikTok and social media, which is a new venue since Mao's time, and how it may affect our society? Secondly, Tiananmen Square was a period of hope. What went wrong, or what happened that if you could remind us or what could have been done differently when it came to Tiananmen Square?
Okay, the first question, it's a complicated topic. I would say just ban it. You know, to me, it's very easy. And you don't have to ban it. You said, okay, I don't ban it, but you have to open China market up for X, for Facebook. But we don't do that. I don't get it. So now they have this buying it, but they still own 10%. And yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I think the easiest way to deal with communists, just do what they do. Okay, you ban us? Fine, we'll ban you, period. But we don't do it because it's a free society. That's why free society is so vulnerable when the communists, when you're dealing with communists. Yeah, that is something we just have to deal with. I don't know. I'm not happy, and I think that whole thing should be banned. But now I sound like a totalitarian list, right? Yeah, but that's the tough thing when you deal with communists. They use free speech to shut down speech. They use freedom to shut down your freedom, and they have been doing it and very successful. So Tiananmen Square, massacre, and so everyone should see that is natural. That is how communists deal with the dissidents. And so the problem is that our reaction, and then basically Bush, yeah. And that is one of the, China was really going down the dogs. And so it was just like in ruins and just crisis everywhere by the time that Nixon came along. And Mao was just absolutely lost everything, even his successors. If you know that story, his successors turned out to be, supposedly is going to assassinate him, I don't know. And then he escaped to Soviet Union and his plane was shut down. Lin Biao. Okay, so the economy was in ruins, and the party was so dismantled. His successor, hand-picked successor, was betraying him, gone. And then Nixon came along, saved China. Okay, saved the CCP. And then the second time is when China showed to the whole world what they really are. Before they killed 80 million of us behind the Iron Curtain. You have an excuse. We don't know. We haven't seen it. Do you have any picture? You prove? But Tiananmen Square, it was on live TV. Everyone saw it. And what did Bush do? Well, we have to have stability. And China is important because we have to help them to become a democracy. So who to blame? Us. That's my answer. Us. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you.
Hi, G.
Hi.
I know that so many people are grateful to have your voice. My question is simply, of the founding principles of the United States, is there one in particular that you think is important to bring to bear against what's happened and what's coming?
Let's just say one, because I can't talk about it.
Of course.
Just one. Let me pick one.
Just
yeah.
one.
That is the most important to me, that our rights are from our Creator. This is so profound. That is our rights. No one can take it away because it's not from the government. It's not from the rulers. This is so revolutionary. Of course, this is deeply embedded in Christianity. But recently, I heard people talking, this right-wing extremists, they're crazy. They think their rights is from their Creator. Our senator, Tim Kaine. And also there is another, I heard earlier last year, a journalist. Those right-wing, they're really extreme. They dare to think it's from their God. And to me, this makes the difference between America and communism. Communism, we don't have rights. Whatever we're allowed to do is from the state. It can take away any time. And that's set us apart. I think if one thing, that is it, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful talk.
Thank you.
A breath of fresh air. I'd like to briefly comment on two things. I'm going to finish up answering your question about TikTok. So I'm retired, but I spent many decades studying the People's Republic of China for the United States government. It's important to understand the way the top leadership thinks. And they've kind of always thought this way. At the grand strategy level, they are Marxist, Hegelian Maoists, right? It's a blend of those three flavors of philosophy for the grand strategy. At the strategic level, they're Chinese. They think in terms of the classic Chinese strategies, the 36 strategies. They look back into Chinese history, to the Chengyu and the various ways, the strategic patterns of operation design. And they use classical Chinese strategies.
Sneaky is the word.
Well, and this is important because China has always had a problem with gathering enough information. You never have complete information, so you have to make a decision on the way you're going to go ahead based on incomplete information. And so you try to match as much information as you have to the strategy that best fits that pattern of information and then go ahead with that strategy. At the operational level, at the level of what's called operational art, which is within the communist system, the people running China right now are not the Red Guards. You're spot on. The Red Guards have been pushed aside. They have not been trusted with the levers of power because everyone knows they blew it, right? But the people running China right now are almost all engineers. Xi Jinping is a chemical engineer, okay? At the operational art level, they think like engineers. I honestly believe somewhere in China is a vast computer with this giant Gantt chart on how they're going to take over the world, right? Because they seem to be working their way down the chart, right? But what most Americans truly don't understand is that at the tactical level, they are Leninists. And Lenin came up with the United Front Work Department. And this total mobilization of access into all of society through all the various ways that they can reach into the minds of people, which is controlled by the United Front Work Department, right, which is a Communist Party element. That's how they're reaching out to the world. And when you read in the New York Times that they just busted a guy who had set up a Chinese police station in New York City, right? That's the United Front Work Department in action, okay? They penetrate the society at every level, and that's a basic Leninist tactic. Lenin created that concept, and the Maoist Communist Chinese took it over completely. So along that line, a few years back, the Chinese passed a law, because they have to have laws, that said every corporation, every company in China has to cooperate with the intelligence services. You have to. You don't have a choice in the matter. It's not, would you please? It's, here's what you're going to do for us. The thing about TikTok is the program, the underlying software, gathers vast amounts of information about you from your phone. And when that whole thing of fine print that you never read because you always just have to click through it to get to the program, it's in there, it says they get to do it, right? They have lawyers too. And so TikTok phones home and passes all that information back. And then ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, that owns the algorithms, is legally required to pass that information over to the Communist Party of China via their intelligence organizations. Why do you think people are stealing your private data, right? This is a long-term strategy to build vast digital databases. And I have long said, we will know we are at the war with China when all of our credit cards are maxed out instantaneously. Right? And the entire society shuts down because no one has any money. At any rate, that's why TikTok is dangerous, because it is a Chinese corporation at the present time, and they have to cooperate with the intelligence services. That's under Chinese law.
Thank you. Yeah, I do want to say something else to I guess to wrap it up. And what is communism? I said it's about power, it's about control. Yes, so is there real communism? Nope. So that you have to understand, it's all a tactic. It's all a deceptive tactic. So especially today in the West. So when I say communism is here, and a lot of people still have a hard time process it. So I would say that the kind of communism I live under has nothing to do with what you read from the primary source. That should be this has nothing to do with it. Yeah. So, and today, I say this, our problem is globalism. It's globalists who want to take control of us. And they use Marxist, communist tactics. Why? It's very useful. It's very effective. It's proven to be absolutely effective. So I would say it's globalists with Marxist characteristics. I think that's probably better, because they're not pushing. You think the DEI people really, really want to have equity? No, they don't give. Okay, I try to be. No, it's a tactic. It's a tactic. Okay, so when you understand that, it's much easier. So when you say communism, it seems kind of like kind of abstract. No, it's just something sounds good, just to use so that the goal is to control all of us. Thank you.
So I grew up in the New York area, and I grew up in New Jersey specifically, lived in Morris County, worked in Bergen County for a while. So I used to drive through Paterson, New Jersey. I watched them erect 3 huge mosques in Paterson. And I've watched a correlation, just wondering how you feel, especially now, because it looks like New York City could end up electing a Muslim socialist. If you see a correlation between, and I'm not downing anybody who's a Muslim who's here, but do you see a correlation between, Islamic idealism and communism and how it kind of works together?
Actually, it's a great question. I have to say, I haven't spent that much time. I'm actually looking for a partner, because I understand communism, and there's a lot of people who understand Islamism. But there's not anything in between that both. Actually, I'm working on it, and I did talk to some people that I believe they know Islamism better than I. So here's what I think, and I believe this is absolutely true. Okay, so Marxism and Islamism, they don't get along. They absolutely don't get along. Okay, and Christianity and Islamism has, centuries of conflict. They don't get along because the basic value system don't align with each other. So what the problem we're facing today is what? Is cultural Marxism made it possible for the Islamism come to America and actually make headways. Okay, so the question is, why these two, the communism and Islamism, why they have this unholy alliances? Because they have one common enemy. That is the United States. When they take down United States, they have to fight each other. And I talked to my Muslim friends. I said, who will win? They said, Islam. I said, communism. I think communism is even more ruthless than Islam. So that's what.
One more question.
My question is, when you send your kids off to university, what should be like a red flag to them? This is a Marxist ideology, because a lot of it is not coming right out saying, hey, this is a Marxist ideology. You kind of morph into it, and you feel good about something, and you're almost enlightened about it. How can you get them to think, hey, this is something completely different than our capitalistic system?
This is what I'm trying to do. This is exactly the challenge. The challenge. They think when they go to university, they all brainwashed. They think they are fighting. This is a typical classic. They are fighting for the oppressed. And they are fighting for the marginalized. But they never ask, who are those marginalized? Who are those oppressed? And so we can say in America, they absolutely create the oppressed. They create the marginalized. And they import proletarians. Not enough here, because somehow capitalism created wealth and built a great middle class. So the classic Marxism did not work here. But now it's different. Now Mondani and Bernie Sanders, now again, they're talking about the oligarchy. They're talking about class struggle. But mostly, that did not really work well. So they have to use cultural Marxism. They have to create this oppressed. So who are oppressed? Women. Oh, poor us. We are oppressed. Or we just suffer from the evil man. And then race, right? So black, well, historically, yes. But so we're all lumped in, like Chinese, we're oppressed. And not anymore. Do you know why? The Chinese are now called white adjacent. The Indians are called white adjacent. Their skin is darker than some of the African Americans because they're too damn successful. That's the problem. So that's what they just have to create more of this oppressed group. And of course, the latest is trans. You can, or you don't even have to. Trans is a lot of trouble. You have to go through transition. You just call yourself queer. That's enough. You become oppressed. And then why you want to be oppressed? Then you have privilege. But for those people that brainwashed here, they want to protect those poor people. And that feels good. That feels really good. That you, that's really a problem. That is God complex. You feel like you become the savior of those people. And you're fighting for those people. And the worst offenses are the white liberals, white female liberals. I just call them out, absolutely. They want to protect all those people. And then because they do that, the more and more people want to be victims. And I have to tell you this sad reality. A lot of Chinese came here just like me, lived through communism, lived through the brutal regime, and then come here. And all of a sudden, they don't recognize communism here. They don't. They absolutely don't. They understand the communism over there, but when they come here, and they can't seem to recognize because now they have a different face. And also, those people tell them, you are oppressed. And you're oppressed by who? By those white supremacists. And we will help you. And we'll protect you. You vote for us. And that is so powerful. So many Chinese. Sometimes I say, when I say Chinese from mainland China, about 80% of them vote for Democrats because it feels good to be protected by your savior. And they forgot what they experienced. Mao and CCP were supposedly our savior. They starved us to death. 80 million of us, 50 million of us starved to death. And then a lot of them lost lives through their brutal dictatorship. They forget. They come here, they vote for Democrats. And a lot of them, especially in New York City, they want one story, and then that's it. In the early 90s, I went to New York City with my friend, and they have a friend from China, so we visited his place. He was so excited to show us. The house is on Section 8, something paid for, and we have food stamps. We have everything. It's just so wonderful. I was like, you come here for free peace? You can't come here and achieve your own American dreams? They love it. And that is the problem. So when you have a party who want to protect people, who want to give them free peace, that's very powerful. A lot of people fall for it, including the victims of communism from China. That's how bad things are.
Thank you, Steve. You were
Thank you all so much. You really, really.